set up to be in speaker view only, so don't worry, none of you are showing, but we will be recording this session as we do with all of the webinar sessions, and it will be posted shortly after this webinar ends. Welcome everyone. How's everyone doing today? If you'd like to, you can take a moment to introduce yourself in the chat. Let us know who you are, where you're calling in from, and who you work with, your role, if you choose to. We welcome you all today. Thank you for being here. And it is 1:01, so I'm going to go ahead and dive in with a very straightforward and simplistic greeting and start to this session before turning it right on over to our facilitator and our panel, because we don't want to waste any time. We find these sessions go really fast. They go by super fast. So today we are talking about digital equity and education, specifically higher ed, and how digital equity or a lack of digital skills or access to technology, or the knowledge of how to safely navigate those two can affect adults in the higher ed realm. And just our experiences as far as doing this work in higher ed, and how we are seeking to bridge that gap. So today we're giving Becca, I would love to say we're giving her a little break, but we're not. She's actually taking on a different role. She normally, thankfully, serves in this manner, in welcoming everybody and kind of facilitating the run of show, if you will. But as Becca's background is in higher ed, she is a professor, currently still working as a professor in addition to the work that she does with us. Also knowledgeable in instructional design and of course digital inclusion now. She is going to be facilitating and participating in this panel today, as one of our panelists. So we're very excited to have her in that role today. On the panel as well, we have Nina Torres, who is the CEO and founder of Justice Seeds. Nina is a nonprofit leader with over 10 years of experience in the sector, serving the underserved communities and local and national space. She advocates for education equity and is proud to be the leader of this organization, which provides education consulting. She is also the senior manager of strategic initiatives for a consulting firm, Adept Partners Incorporated, which focuses on growth strategies for mission-driven organizations. Thank you so much for being here today, Nina. It looks like also in her career, she has developed and managed education programs, primarily college access and college success related. And she's been featured in, is it LA Voyage or Louisiana Voyage?
It is Los Angeles, LA.
LA, okay. So LA Voyage, shout out LA, and the LA Times, just to name a few well-known publications. Second on our list of speakers today, panelists, is Ms. Belinda Parker, who is an adult student at San Antonio College and also works in the digital equity realm. Belinda is pursuing a degree in business administration. She maintains a 4.0 GPA and is a member of the National Society of Leadership and Success and also Phi Theta Kappa. She is on her second contract with as an AmeriCorps Vista and is serving as a member of the Opportunity Home San Antonio team, which is the housing authority of San Antonio, as a digital inclusion Vista. Ms. Torres advocates for education equity and is proud to be the CEO founder. Oh, sorry. Sorry, that something got copied into my notes here. I apologize. Let's see. Ms. Torres has over 14 years as a medical assistant and is no stranger to working in an effort to serve the well-being of the community. She plans to utilize her experience in education to strengthen the community through digital literacy and inclusion, continued work in that field. Now, circling back to our very own Ms. Becca Wright, she is our Lyft administrative manager. She oversees all things learning management system related. So if you have enrolled in any of our courses or taken part in any of our learnings, she has been there to make sure that your journey with that is smooth as can be, and everything is a-okay, and that you're successful in completing that learning. She taught for many years at the University of Colorado at Denver and Arapahoe Community College. She is also a writing consultant for graduate students and shoots medical school students at the University of Colorado Writing Center. She's a proponent for student support both in and out of the classroom, with a combined 25 years of experience in both academia and private industry. She focuses on inclusive curriculum design, client enrollment and relations, and digital equity content management. As I've said a couple of times, you probably recognize her from her work here with us at CTN. We are proud to have her as a member of our team, and really thrilled to have her serving in this way today. This time she gets to be a panelist instead of a host. So Becca, on that note, I will turn it on over to you.
Thank you, Sky, and thanks everyone. We have so many people participating today. This is really exciting, considering that right now is a super busy time for college students and for those working with them. So welcome. Just to give a little context, and then we're gonna hop right in. If you have any questions or you have any comments, please do put them in the chat. Another one of our CTN team members, Miss Josie Boyle, who manages our curriculum design, actually, she's monitoring the chat, and she's going to put a lot of links and resources in there throughout. So please keep an eye on that, and please do insert any of your questions and comments. So with that, I'm Becca. I'm in Colorado. We have Nina Torres, who is in San Francisco. And we have Belinda Parker, who is a student in San Antonio. So I'm so thrilled that we have some geographic representation today, and also some different perspectives on the college experience and on digital inclusion in college and with college students, both traditional and non-traditional. With that, I would like to open it up to both maybe Nina first and maybe then Belinda. Talk to us a little bit about your interest in the college population and digital inclusion, maybe your interest and your experience. Like Nina and then Belinda, in what capacity are you joining us today?
So first of all, I just want to thank you for inviting me into the space with CTN. Also, too, I just want to say hello to everyone. So what really brought me into this space and interest is because, for one, being a first generation student of color, I like to always start off with that. I myself needed support when it came to digital literacy, digital equity, even having access to a computer for college. So with that said, I went into the education space over 10 years ago, and I noticed this was a common thing amongst many students. As I pursued my education and got my master's in ed, this was something I started to see not only in the Southern California area, but also to Northern California, so across the state. As I grew my career and visited various school sites across K-12, as well as college students, it always came back to this common theme. And as we saw within COVID, many students also too were facing this digital inequity and needing access to a computer. And so with that said, it became one of my main goals and one of my main passions in order to support students, in order to provide that access around digital equity, and also to partnering up with colleges and universities such as the Cal States within California statewide in order to bring that access to students. And I myself, like I was sharing earlier, is that being that first gen student of color, 17-year-old going to Cal State LA, I myself was like wishing that I had that advocate, had that organization to support me. And so with that said, as I created Justice Seeds, that's something that I wanted to, in order to further that work that I'm doing and support folks within the community.
And I can't wait to talk more about Justice Seeds too. Belinda, what has been your experience? You have an interesting story.
Yes, thank you, Becca, and thank you to Community Tech Network for this opportunity. A little bit about me, I became a resident of Opportunity Home in 2015 when I married my husband. I was quiet, complacent with being just that way. In 2017, I was approached by a resident service coordinator here at Opportunity Home about Connect Home classes that were being held downstairs. So I signed up. I didn't have anything else planned, so I was like, okay. I was thankful and that I actually kept that certificate because I didn't know at the time that that would like be a thing that would shift the trajectory, of my life, of the rest of my life, of my adult life. After completing the Connect Home classes, it was, back to day-to-day things as usual. I would still like help out downstairs with food distributions. It wasn't until 5 years after that, after I got in like the Connect Home certification, that somebody had came up to me and said, you can get paid for doing that, like passing out flyers and so I started doing that. I became a resident apprentice for Opportunity Home, and then I became the AmeriCorps Vista. I'm currently in my second year as the Digital Inclusion Vista for AmeriCorps. I'm a student at San Antonio College studying business administration. I do have a 4.0 GPA. As let's see, I lost my place, I'm sorry. I do work side by side and day to day to help lift the community and bridge the digital divide. And I think that it's important that we all work in and for organizations and help the homes have hands-on access to digital devices and internet access, because it's no longer considered a luxury. It's become a necessity in society and in our daily lives. Whatever we can do to put our head and our hearts together to bridge the digital gap in each and every household, in every age range, helps the city, the community, and helps us all as a whole.
Well said. And you bring up a really good point about, digital access and digital literacy. It's not just like a privilege or a luxury or a nice to have. It is absolutely a must have. And in today's conversation, we have two things that fit in that category. We have higher education in order for people who just intellectually want to pursue disciplines and fields, but also the undergrad, quite honestly, is the new high school diploma these days. So we have education, which is a must-have, higher education, post-higher education, along with digital access and digital literacy. My involvement and my perspective here is as someone who is an instructor, both at a state university and at a very wonderful community college for many years. I am a first generation college student. I'm the first person in my entire family to go to or graduate from college. I'm from rural Arkansas originally. And it was always, my family always praised education as like something that was, if you could attain it, you should. And I mean, it was this thing that was praised. And I think that it formed me into someone who just wanted to be a teacher and wanted to help other people and wanted to work in that realm. And my specialty was not in digital inclusion. This was all prior to me joining CTN. And just a few years ago when COVID hit and everything went online and all of our worlds were turned upside down, I saw that firsthand at an administrative level in colleges, at an instructor level in colleges, and then how it affected students. And it opened my eyes to, oh, once we're not in the classroom and once we're communicating over Zoom, my students, like, they just randomly drop out because they have spotty Wi-Fi or no Wi-Fi, or they missed the bus to get to campus during COVID to go to the library to use the university's Wi-Fi. And I am coming at this as, you know, to give you some perspective. The year that I started undergrad was when people started using email. So like I am a little, you know, I am a little bit older and was always sort of just in the professional, like, oh, this is email and this is how we use things, and just took for granted that younger folks would have that access to. So what are the challenges that you see, either that you have experienced or that you see and that you know firsthand? What are the challenges right now for college students getting access to devices, Wi-Fi, literacy, knowledge? Nina, Belinda.
I actually want to, before answering this question, I actually want to echo what you were saying, Becca. I was thinking to myself, even financial aid, Better FAFSA had just came out. There was so many glitches that were happening. It was affecting our college students, but also too, I started thinking about during this time period, what happens to our students who, I was getting calls from students from the Central Valley and saying that I need support, my internet is spotty, to your point, Becca, also too, I need to do the paper FAFSA. But then obviously that takes longer. Does it get lost in the mail? When do I hear back versus watching it online and seeing what its process and such? And so I think to myself right there even too, how students are being impacted even to getting financial aid for schooling as well. Is such a big issue right there. And even to navigating that system of how do you file it? But also too, I want to mention as well, one thing I had seen during the COVID time, I'd loved seeing the nonprofit spaces really step it up and provide access to laptops, hotspots, opening up their spaces as well as like in 2021, 2022, in order to provide spaces for students to do their work, submit items as well for college. When I was working in the nonprofit space, I was working for an organization called Community Coalition. And Community Coalition actually gave all their students laptops and hotspots, because we had students who were sitting outside McDonald's, fast food chains, Starbucks, and trying to be able to submit their homework assignments for college. But again, the whole thing was they were saying it is spotty. I don't know if it went through, did it? And also too, feeling so depleted and feeling so discouraged. Am I going to be able to pursue my goals? Is this going to stop me because of not having access to internet and even to using a laptop that was not even capable in order to hold all their papers and everything? And so with that said, that was something I really want to just note right there, because seeing the nonprofit spaces really come in and say, no, we need to provide support to our students as well as partner up with the colleges and universities as well.
I would also say, you know, as well as Nina, like being first generation myself, even graduating high school, let alone going to college, people around you can be discouraging, especially if there's nobody to turn to. So like with Connect Home and with people that are knowledgeable with digital literacy, if you have the knowledge, share it with people, especially me being older than the students that are in there now. Like I shy away from speaking because, you know, I should know this by now. But if somebody shares it, I'm taking notes. Even as Nina was talking, I'm sitting here taking notes. Like, oh, okay, that's a good point, Nina. Like, if you know something, share it. And that's it, it makes me motivated. Hence, it'll make someone else motivated. And I tend to not even realize that I'm motivating somebody by opening up my mouth and just sharing it. If you know it, say it.
And to your point, Belinda, as I'm like even to thinking about how the resources out there. So for myself, I'm based in California in the Los Angeles area, but I go between LA and San Francisco a lot. And so with that said, I think about, again, with the Cal States. The Cal States, I'm a big proponent of, maybe because also too biased, I'm a graduate of a Cal State. But with that said, the Cal States, their EOP, Educational Opportunity Program, that's something I really do push a lot when it comes to students applying to the CSUs. Like, please, please, please do the EOP section on your CSU application. Because one, they also to provide tech support as well, having a tech loan program. Also too, I know within Cal State Dominguez Hills, they have a workforce integration network. And so if CSU Dominguez Hills is on this call, I hope you are. The Workforce Integration Network helped my students as well with the Concerned Citizens Community Involvement, which is in South LA. And so one thing that they had done for my students was that they partnered up together and provided over 300 laptops to all the students, as well as headphones as well for the students to be able to have a quiet space for them to be able to submit their work. It was swooped up with the whole Microsoft suite. And again, it's just sharing these resources out in the community and letting students know. And also that's also to coming with the nonprofits, with the universities partnering up together, because it's so important, because the nonprofits are on the ground. We are working directly with the community, but letting the universities know this is what we need and this is how you can support our students within the spaces.
That's also extremely helpful because the universities are also trying to teach the students the classes. And so I want to respond to both of your points. Going first to Belinda. Belinda, you've said a couple of times now, sometimes I can be quiet. Sometimes I don't ask questions. That's a personality trait. Many people are like that, and there's nothing wrong with that. What I noticed in working for most of my life in higher education, most of my life with college students, even from the time I was in college, is that even for the most interested, most confident college student, college is intimidating. It's very overwhelming. There are 1,000 pieces in place. It's only one aspect of a student's life. Many times, especially the population we're talking about today, is mostly new to college. They don't have a support system, a knowledgeable, experienced support system within their family or within their home life, or maybe even within their safe community. And that is not a situation that encourages one to just approach strangers and ask questions. And as an instructor, I would encourage any other instructors on the call or student administrators or student support staff, make it part of what is already planned. So in that first class, or in that first week of class, when you're going over the syllabus anyways, when you're going over the structure of your course, talk about the learning management system, talk about email, and don't just talk about it, do the actual presentation up on the screen. If you happen to be in a class that is a lab, a lot of regular humanities courses are sometimes even taught in computer labs. Just build in time for students to bring up their email, or for students to bring up the learning management system, or to show various websites. The more open an instructor can be about, here are the things that I know of, just like a digital navigator, right? Here are the things that I know. Let me show you these things. Do you have questions? What questions do you have? The students will talk to each other, and that will start to create an environment where questions are okay. I also want to say one other thing. For anyone here who works with college students or lives with college students, colleges are systems. Systems are not perfect, but you would be hard pressed to find a more supportive environment than a college campus. And what I mean by that is the typical student interacts with 3 or 4 different instructors. Just walking to campus, if they're on campus, there are all kinds of student support services, tutors, learning resources, writing centers, support, for sexual support or gender support, counseling. You can literally, students, if any student is on here, you can walk into any office on campus and just say, I'm having problems with XYZ. Can you help me? And they will help you. And in life, that is not often available. So I do want to reiterate that. While we're talking about advice or about advice to students or resources for students or advice to staff, Nina, Belinda, how would you jump in here and offer some tips?
As far as me, I pinpoint someone somewhere, a mentor, a professor, someone that has been through what you're going through, or put your trust in them and they won't steer you in the wrong direction. Just like I've said before, and Becca already said, I'm not really a talker. So the people that I trust them wholeheartedly. One of them, I believe, is on this call. But she's never steered me in the wrong direction. So whether it be a professor, a counselor, pinpoint someone and yeah, that I don't think, people in general are good people. So
Belinda, how did you go about that with whatever that you're comfortable with? Like, you not being an overly verbal person, what did that look like for you to approach someone? Like, how would you articulate that to somebody else who might want to follow your advice?
Wow, that's a great question. Well, first off, trust your heart, trust your gut, but um with me, don't look at at what's right in front of you. Like, especially like where I come from, don't trust the police. Don't talk to people. That's the world that I was born into. It's not normally like that. Normally people are good people. So just trust your gut.
Nina, what advice might you give or tips or what thoughts do you have to chime in? And feel free to please talk about your impetus for Justice Seeds because we need to hear about that.
Yes. So first off, I would definitely echo what Belinda's saying as well, the finding a mentor. Also to connecting with student affairs offices within the colleges as well. For instance, maybe if there's a first gen office, if there's a multicultural, cross-cultural office, as well as connecting with folks in the different departments that are doing some amazing work that you are interested in, and they can be your mentor as well. I do want to definitely, talk a little about Justice Seeds. So with Justice Seeds, one thing reason why I created this, because I really wanted, in order to create a space focusing on education equity consulting for nonprofits who are trying to connect with partnerships across many states around, let's say, digital inclusion, around college access success, wherever that may look like, creating those strategic partnerships and really providing that support around supporting students when it comes to the K-12, when it comes to accessing services, comes to program development, design, and such. Again, this is something that's wholeheartedly I'm passionate about, because I myself was first in my family to go to college on both sides, not only for undergrad, but for grad school as well. And I remember even too, when I went to grad school, thinking to myself, do I belong here? Having that imposter syndrome, also to having the access to resources, how to work 2 jobs in order to be able to pay the bills, and also to be able to have a laptop and have internet. And I was living in San Francisco at that time, and San Francisco is not cheap. um, so with that said, Justice Seeds really was birthed out of just my passion, and also to how I want to support students of color like myself in that time, and also to be able to support the nonprofits who are creating these spaces. I noticed that within my time working with various clients, they're saying they're trying to create these spaces for their students in the higher ed spaces. One of my clients is right now in the process of creating a leadership program for their college students. And what is this leadership program going to look like? What's it going to encompass? And one of the things that is going to encompass is digital inclusion. And so with that said, Justice Seeds is really here to support and provide those strategic partnerships, and really think strategically, big picture, where we're going and what do we need to address for our students today.
What are you most excited about with Justice Seeds at the current moment today? Just right now, what are you most excited about?
Well, what I'm most excited about right now is, I'm actually gonna make a plug for one of my clients. The Black Education Expo is gonna be happening October 12th. I was hired by my client in order to do this LA County wide, support them around education equity. And one of the themes is digital inclusion. And so with that said, we are providing various resources, also to bringing in various nonprofits within the space. It is in partnership with the city of Pasadena. It's going to be happening at the Pasadena Convention Center. So definitely could share that flyer with you all. And that's something I'm really excited about, because we as a community are coming together to support our students, and also to bring light to this issue as well.
Thank you. I also want to, this is probably common knowledge for everyone, but I do want to paint the picture. And Belinda, you hop in anytime, you nonverbal panel participant. All right, because you're our student here. I'm just the teacher, but Nina and I have done our fair share as students in the classroom. I do want to paint the picture for everyone of what college looks like for students these days, okay? And I do mean state universities, and I do mean community colleges. Your typical college student works. Many college students either live at home or live with their family and have a family. Many, if not most, if not the majority of college students work. So they're going to school and working, which is just not fun. Undergrad, grad, it doesn't matter. But here is what college looks like, though. There are in-person classes and there are online classes. The online classes can be real-time, synchronous, where you're all meeting via Zoom and you're having class at a set time with other people, but from your own home or from your office. Or there are asynchronous classes, which are online and you do at your own pace, but even those, you have weekly due dates, you have weekly expectations, you have syllabus expectations. However, one of the things that COVID started, and the way that, like, there was a before COVID in education and there is an after COVID in higher education. And the after COVID is, regardless of if you meet in person or you're online, there is an online component to your courses always. There was a learning management system. The common learning management systems are like Canvas and Blackboard. There are other ones out there. But even if you meet in person, you're still expected to upload your assignments in this learning management system. You're expected to watch videos. You're expected to participate in discussions. So even if you're participating in discussions and going to class on the computer or in person, you are simultaneously operating your course on another platform entirely. And that is different from even 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Like, college classes became became more complex. And in even your most old school chalkboard class, it's not like that anymore. There's this learning management system. And many times for instructors, instructors are focusing on the material and they're focusing on helping students learn the material. Their focus is not the learning management system and helping somebody get internet access and helping somebody. I'm not dissing instructors. I was one. But that's like adding an entire other job onto what an instructor is required to do. And most universities and colleges require they put the heaviest burden, for better or worse, on adjunct instructors who are not paid very much. I once, as an adjunct, tried to calculate my hourly salary and immediately stopped. Just immediately stopped that. As somebody who has 2 master's degrees, I didn't want to see how many cents I was technically making per hour. So, Belinda, can you talk about your experience as a student in classes? Like, how much does that rely actually on digital access? And of course, Nina, jump in too.
Yeah, thank you, Becca. Just like you were saying, yes, I do work. I'm also a wife, a mother, a grandmother. I am very grateful to Opportunity Home and the Connect Home program because without this, I would not be a college student. I want to make that very clear. Opportunity Home and the Connect Home program is why I am even at a 4.0 getting a degree. Like I would not have stepped on campus at all. So, and I do take classes online. I also Zoom into classes. And I have actually showed my syllabus to someone that has a master's here at Opportunity Home. And when I showed it to her, she was like, they didn't have that a couple years ago. So I know exactly what you're talking about, Becca. I was like, oh, what did you? Okay. But yes, so just like you were saying, they kind of went over just assuming that you have digital access, you have the internet, you have a device. This is where Opportunity Home and the Connect Home program came in for me because everybody just assumes that that's just a given, and it's not like that. Without this, I would not even be a student.
Nina, do you want to speak to any assumptions that you see systematically, either from colleges or in the higher education environment? Any assumptions that you would like to deconstruct?
Yeah, I definitely want to even to just echo what Belinda was saying, because as you're sharing your story, I started thinking about even to my story, being a first gen student. I remember not having access to a computer nor or a printer and having to go to the library and signing up and waiting in line until the computer was available for me to be able to type my papers up and print them out. And I remember that was like that for the first couple of years of college. And that was challenging. I remember even too, when I was gifted by a neighbor a printer because they were going to get rid of it and get a new one. And they said, we know you're college and you need this. Would you like this? I remember crying and thinking to myself, thank you so much. Like, this means so, so much to me because this is not allow me to be able to take off the stress, the load off me. And again, it goes back to even thinking to myself, the financial part as well. As I talk to many nonprofits and students, there's the direct costs and the indirect costs. And the indirect costs is the books and supplies such as laptops and printing. And that's not really taken into account when it comes to the ticket price for school. And so with that said, as you said, Belinda, I think to myself, the library was a resource to me. And I couldn't have gone through achieving also too my goals, even be at my master's as well. And now I'm thinking about getting a doctorate without the library as being a resource to me.
There are direct and indirect costs. I mean, I can remember, and not to sound like a cave woman here back when the world was black and white, but I can remember, you go to the computer lab because that's where you have to go to print your paper, and you have to pay for that. So most colleges and universities, even today, they'll give you a certain number of free copies. It's like attached to your student ID number. And you go into the lab because some professors, you all, here we are talking about online courses and digital, but some professors still require printed materials for presentations, for things like that. And you have a certain number of free copies, and then you are charged for those. On the flip side, I do want to point out computer labs as well as libraries as places that are on almost any campus of any school that anyone goes to. I know that it is a time commitment for many people to even get to campus and be on campus. I recognize that. However, those really are places where you can walk in and ask someone almost anything, and they will help you for free. So if you could take some time out of your schedule, which is always a challenge, but if you could go into the library, or if you can even go into the computer lab and say, hey, I signed in and you called my number and I need help accessing my email. I need help knowing what my username is and what my password is for the learning management system. And can you please just walk me through how I would submit an assignment? Or could you please just walk me through how I would contact this service? Because I'm talking about all these services that are on campus, but of course, if you're not on campus, you can access them electronically too. So you can get on your school's website and you can look up student support services, academic advising, student help, student learning center, resource center, counseling center, like they all have different names, writing center, dean's office, right? Department chair, the English department, the history department. Just start reaching out and asking questions, and people really will respond. Belinda, any thoughts about that before we get some concluding thoughts?
Just with what you were saying, I'm nodding, and it's one of the hardest things for me to do. But yes, I go on campus every chance I get, and I always look lost. But yes, someone always, do you need help? Where are you? Yes, they're always ready to help, maybe because I look like a old lady and I don't, yeah, anyways. But yes, even if when you're not on campus, learn the people around you. Somebody has been through this before. My mentor, Jessica Strom, she voluntold me. The only reason that I speak today is because she keeps, you have a great story, say it. But, and I like it when I hear it from other people, when I hear other people's stories and I'm like, hey, that's me too. But even though it's difficult for me to do, once I've done it, I hope I help someone else. And I just, I hope that keeps going in life. Like all of us, we can all help each other. Like, I have no idea.
Talk to us a little bit about your future. None of us can read the future, but talk to us a little bit about your degree and a little bit of how you see the next few years.
I definitely, after I am done with San Antonio College, I will be transferring to UTSA. I'm, yes, I have a college advisor. We are on, via Zoom all the time, what's next? And she's like my little mini Jessica. They're both, this is what you need to do next. This is what you need to do next. Because even with, we all have lives, we work and, we have families and stuff. Well, don't forget about this, because at the end of the day, once I get my degree, it's not for me, it's for my family. So, the times that I am taking out to study and to go on campus, it feels, especially as women for some reason, it feels like we're being selfish, but we're not. Like, you have to look at it as this is to help us all. We have this thing in us that's like, oh, we put ourselves on the back burner. But I mean, when you really think about it, you have to put yourself first sometimes in order to help the bigger picture, which is your entire family. So I'm at that point right now that, yeah, it's my time.
Yes, it is. And I wanted to say an amen. And Nina keeps hitting the heart button. Um, but also just in the spirit of higher education, like you are such an example, and I mean this sincerely, as somebody who was taught that education is something that you should seek if you possibly can, to know more, to learn more, to understand more. Um, it sort of doesn't matter what your career is, because look at everything that you're learning and look at all the connections that you're making to the real world, and that actually enhances our lives. Do you see that in your role in your family?
Absolutely. I don't only see it, let me tell you, when I see it the most is when it's pointed back to me, to people that matter to me the most. When my daughter is like, Mom, you know what? Wow. Or my husband, like people, I still live, I am a resident in Opportunity Home. The people in the building are like, Belinda, there's something different. Like, look at you. What's going on with you? We don't see you very much. Because like it matters, yes, when I look in the mirror, I thank God every day. But it matters when it's pointed back to me, because once you get in the move of things, especially again, us as women, we get to move. Okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? Who do I help next? But when somebody stops you, they're like, "Hey, great job! Like, what are you doing?" Like, it just makes you want to do it even more. Like, okay, I got this.
Yes, you do. And Nina and Belinda both, um, as women of color, you both nod. You both nod. Okay, but expand. As okay, so we're talking about this, from a nonprofit perspective, from a consultant perspective, from an instructor, from a family member, from a student. Last thoughts about digital inclusion as a woman of color.
I would say I really want to, and I love that Belinda kept saying like mentorship. From my stance, I definitely want to just recommend to everyone is have your advisors, have your mentors, and have your sponsors. Your advisors, folks that you can go to for advice, your mentors, but of course also to your sponsors, people who are rooting for you behind the scenes, like for that like job, opportunity, whatever that may be. And with that said, I also want to share with Justice Seeds, we are also to here as advisor, mentor, or sponsor as well. I tell many women of color, first gen, low income folks like myself, saying that I'm here to support you. And that's the reason why I got into this work. Still nonprofit mindset, growth mindset, and really here for the community through thick and thin. And with that said, Justice Seeds is also to hear for you all and how we can support you.
So with that, I mean, I can't think of a better note to end on personally, so I'm going to call it there. Belinda, best of luck maintaining that 4.0, but even more so, transferring to the next school and continuing the great work that you're doing. It is not easy. So kudos to you. Nina, very best of luck with Justice Seeds. Actually, I look forward to more conversations with you about that, and would love to hear a little bit more. Hopefully, as a result of all the links in the chat and as a result of this webinar, there will be some good results of that. Everyone, I'd like to say Nina has been battling illness this week, and she still joined us with such enthusiasm. And I would also like to say CTN as an organization has some very exciting things in the work coming down the pipeline with partnerships with higher education institutions. to provide digital navigating training, digital skills. So Nina, we very much hope to be one of those nonprofits with some partnerships in the next few months. Fingers crossed, everyone. Please don't hop off, everyone. I'm going to turn it back over to Sky, who's going to tell us a little bit about next month's webinar, and also who's going to give our raffle winners. Today, our raffle winners are winning free enrollment in Teaching Digital Skills, which is a course all about teaching adults, which is so pertinent to our college conversation. So thank you again. Everybody, please stick on. And Sky, I'd like to turn it back over to you.
Thank you so much, Becca, and thank you, Nina, Belinda, all of you for your time and your heart for this subject matter and the work that went into being present here today. So, and thank you all of you for attending. Next month's webinar, we're happy to announce, is on bilingual training and bridging the digital divide. So we'll be back at the table conversing about the culturally proficient approach that we take to training. We here at CTN, we speak 10 languages natively in-house, and we send our curriculum out for translation as needed for partners for any language that we cannot translate into here. It is very important to create those access points through language needs as well, through addressing those language needs. And I just want to point out really quickly that Magdalena Haller made a comment that just resonates so much with the work that we do and who we are and how we do our work successfully. So Magdalena, I'm gonna call out this comment because we say this all the time, and this is every bit about how we get to equity. You know, so we know that there's the work, there's the problem, there's the work, and then there's, you know, what is the outcome? The outcome is equity. That's our desired outcome, right? Digital equity. So Magdalena said that she makes it a practice in her work to call out the skills that people have that have served them so well. Resiliency, strength, strong logic, common sense, those types of things that help people understand so much of what they are is great, and it has gotten them to this place today, and will carry them to the next phase. We say this almost verbatim, Magdalena, in our practice, almost verbatim, and where we speak to it is it's about meeting people where they're at and understanding that because somebody has a need does not mean that they don't have knowledge and skills. It means that they have a set of knowledge and skills that they are asking to build upon. So what brought them to here today, understanding what the need is that will get them to the next step, and then is there an opening to assist in future empowerment through education, or through resources, or through you know, whatever that looks like, strength, resilience, building, all together. So thank you, Magdalena, for that comment. That one hit me right in the heart center, because that is something we speak to on a daily basis. So very important to this work. So now we need to get on to the raffle. Jessica has been working behind the scenes. Are you ready for us?
I am. My Google is freezing a little bit, so I'm not sure if it's gonna let me share. Give me 1 second, and if it doesn't, it's fine. I can still see it and I can read it out. And
So yeah, we are raffling
okay,
off.
it's being freezy. Sorry.
Oh no. Well, we're raffling off adult learning principles to 3 lucky winners today. You must be in attendance. So being registered, you'll receive a recording of this great webinar. But if you are here today, then your name is in the wheel of names, and Jess is trying to get that to run right now. So whenever you're ready, Jess, we'll share those 3 winners.
So that would be Davina Gibson,
Awesome.
Gabriel Pena, and Sarah Curtin. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. I apologize.
Davina.
And if you are in there, please put it in the chat. Perfect. Gabriel, Davina, and Sarah are there. Please let us know.
Yep.
Okay, all three of them here.
Yep.
So
Perfect.
congratulations to our lucky winners. We will be in touch with you to get you enrolled in that course. If you would like to gift that course to another member of your team or to someone else, if you've taken the course before, or if you don't feel that it's pertinent to your role and you'd like to gift it to someone else, we're happy to do that as well. So you can talk to us about that after the session. In the meantime, with our last 5 minutes, we'd love to open it up to questions, and just if anybody has anything for any one of the speakers or any one of us here at CTN, please holler. Unmute yourself, turn on your camera so we can see your beautiful faces, and away we go.
And really quickly, Scott, if I can add something in just briefly, for those of y'all that are in the university space, especially as staff or faculty, definitely one of those things to be aware of to help your students is if they are in public housing space, what have you, and what those resources are at your local public housing authority, because often there are resources for students to receive devices or some of those different things to be able to help them get the support that they need. And I also want to shout out Belinda. One more thing that you didn't mention is that Belinda also just received a scholarship, and I'm very excited and proud of her. So, snaps for Belinda.
Any questions for our panel?
There was something a little further up. Let me see if I can find it. That was wanting somebody to talk about imposter syndrome.
And we
Yes.
spoke about it in the chat, yeah, a little bit. But Josie, would you like to expand on that? Your response to that, or any one of the panelists?
Yeah, I had just responded about that imposter syndrome because I know that's super widespread, and I've had that too. But what I found is when you talk to, to friends, coworkers, peers, if you're studying, I found that pretty much everyone I talk to also feels that. So even from the outside, if it might look like someone is super confident and feels like they've got it together, they are where they should be. Typically, if you actually talk to them and dig a little bit deeper, they also have self-doubt. I think it's probably pretty rare to find someone who doesn't feel that ever. So it's comforting to know you're not alone, and maybe even talk to someone else and say, hey, how do I seem from the outside? And you might learn that actually they're just impressed with your accomplishments and your achievements. And so I think it's a good reality check to get out of your head a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think also too, again, going back to the mentorship, talking to your mentor, but also to being a mentor to someone as well. And as it was shared earlier, as women of color, supporting one another, it's a sisterhood, uplifting one.
I'd just like to add one thing pertinent to college students, is that I wholeheartedly believe what Josie said about, most people, we're people. That's what it means. We're insecure deep down, and we cover it in a lot of ways. But in college, you're learning new things, which always puts you at the bottom. And I don't mean the bottom, but you don't know what you don't know. And you're constantly evaluated, and you're constantly told what you could be doing better. And that is just not a recipe for growing security. And so when you can find those mentors, when you can ask questions, when you can find anybody, like Josie was talking about, to start to share and just say, like, I just really feel like I don't have it together. It can be so helpful for somebody else to say, like, me neither. Let's work on this assignment. Let's do this. A college just is one of those environments. And so kudos to anybody who's even there, because that type of a challenge is considerable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. If there's no other questions, we're going to go ahead and sign off. Just with the final announcement being a reminder of next month's webinar, Bilingual Training and Bridging the Digital Divide, on September 26th. Same time, same station. We would love to see you there. And if you have any questions about culturally proficient training and how to provide digital inclusion services at your facility, please reach out to us. We are experts in it. It's what we do. It's what we love to do. And we would love to assist anywhere from training trainers to providing the multilingual curricula that's used inside the classroom for digital inclusion work. That said, thank you again to the panelists. Thank you, Becca, as always, for putting together an incredible session. Thank you all for being present and accounted for. Without you, we couldn't do this. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Many blessings to all.